Can you say hello?
Hello.
I'm Caleb.
Yeah.
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 And we're playing with Lord of the Rings toys. Yeah. Where's Gandalf?
What?
Where's Gandalf?
Anya.
There's Gandalf. Can you say Gandalf?
There's
Okay, where's Aragorn?
there.
Yeah, can you say Aragorn?
The one.
Where's Legolas?
What?
Legolas.
No, that.
Oh, you want me to do that one next?
Yeah.
Arwen.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you say Arwen?
Orange.
And then we have Gimli.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gimli.
Me.
Then we have Legolas.
Anya.
Yeah, can you say Legolas?
There's
And then, last but not least, is Frodo.
Anya.
Yeah. Can you say Frodo?
Hello.
Yeah. Alright, say Lord
Lord.
of the Rings. Now it's interesting because Lord of the Rings I didn't even know existed for like the first 12 years of my life. I didn't even know. I had no idea what it was. Then I was over visiting a friend one day and he's like, this new movie just came out and it has the elves and dwarves and it's a magical land. It's based on these books by a guy named Tolkien. Apparently he wrote this, trilogy way back when. We should check it out. And so we watched the movie and I was like blown away by the world of Middle-earth. Just blown away. I had no idea what was going on. So I watched the first movie and it was, when I watched it, I was able to actually go home. The second movie had just recently been released. So I rented it. I remember watching it with my dad, I rented it for a week from Blockbuster, obviously. And I want to say I watched it at least once a day. It was in the summer, so I had the time. I just loved the story. And I'm like, well, if it's a book, I love reading, so I need to check out these books. And so I took the books out from the local library and I brought them home and I started reading them. And I couldn't get into it. I didn't enjoy it. Mainly because, again, I'm 12 years old. I just seen the movies and I start reading the books. I'm like, well, this didn't happen in the movie. This isn't how it's supposed to happen. Just totally disregarding that the book came first. And so I didn't read the books. I continued to watch the movies, enjoyed them, Fast forward 10 years. I go to college, have some great friends in college who are great Lord of the Rings fans. And you need to read the books. I'm like, I know I tried to do it, but I couldn't. And so I started working in a bookstore after graduating from college. And I figured, you know what? I need to buy them. I need to get the trilogy. And so I did. I bought them. I'm like, I need to read them. Because The Hobbit was about to come out. And I read The Hobbit first. Really enjoyed it. And I'm like, I thought, okay, if I enjoyed The Hobbit, it's the same guy. I need to actually read the Lord of the Rings books. And so I sat down and I started to read them. And I was blown away even more than the first time that I saw the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. I enjoyed the world, and it didn't bother me that things were happening in the book that didn't happen in the movie. In fact, it made the book even more richer. It made the story greater. I began to understand things a little more in depth as I continued to read and continued to find out the story that Tolkien wrote. And in the world of Middle-earth just leapt off the pages to me. And just man, it didn't take 5 minutes for Frodo and Sam to get out of the Shire. It took 6 chapters for that to happen. And then you continue reading, and the Council of Elrond, probably one of my favorite chapters ever to read. I mean, it's a long chapter. There's lots of history stuff. But you compare it to the movie, and it's oh my goodness, they missed so much. And I understand. I understand why they missed so much. I get it. They can't fit everything into a movie. But man, just reading that chapter and knowing The Hobbit, knowing The Hobbit and reading the Council of Elrond chapter, just amazing. Just seeing the different characters and the different stories. coming out, and you're like, I know who this person is. I know who they're talking about here. And I know what they're talking about with the ring. I know, I believe it's Glowing who's there, because Gimli's son of Glowing, he's there at the council. And he's sharing. And, you know, it's, you wouldn't catch that in the movie. You don't get that connection. But, you know, Glowing went on the journey with Bilbo. And here he is at this council sharing what they've learned and what's been going on. And, yeah. I became so immersed in it that I want to read it. I read it probably once every couple of years now, this trilogy. And I get something new out of it every time. And that's what makes an amazing story and amazing books. And, you know, it did, I'm going to be honest, you know, I got to the Two Towers, which was my favorite of the trilogy movies. So the Two Towers book, I'm like, I'm going to love this book. And I did love it. But it took me a minute. It took me a minute to really get into it, because Tolkien has it separated where you read all that happens to Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas for the first half of the book. And then with Merry and Pippin, that all happens in the first half. And you're like, well, where's Frodo and Sam? You know, and then you follow them for the whole second half of the book. Not going to lie, it did take me a little bit to get into that. Because I'm used to being able to switch back and forth between what's going on. Because I like to know, like, okay, so while this is going on over here, what's going on with them at the same time? And so you kind of had to piece that together. And again, with book 3, you kind of had to do the same thing too. But as you continue to read it, it didn't matter, because the story was so great. And Tolkien created this massive world with a history that expands thousands of years. Like, there are people out there that can probably list off to you things that happen in each and every year in the Tolkien history. I'm not at that level. Not yet. But I really enjoy looking into the history. I'm like, where did this come from? How did this get here? Who are they? And having all these questions answered. I'm glad Tolkien took the time and he added the appendices and like, this happened here and this happened there. And he gives all these answers. And it really inspired me in my own writing to do the same, to create this massive universe where things are connected. And so Tolkien's books, The Lord of the Rings, if you haven't read them, you need to read them. You know, if you've seen the movies and you think the movies are great, the books are even better. It's always the case. But this story just really opened my eyes to explore in different ways, to think differently, to see the different themes played throughout the story. You know, you have Aragorn, who's this king. He's this king who's been in hiding for thousands of years with his line. You know, and he is going to be the next king. He's really the hero of the story, but you're not really following him. You kind of are at times. You're more with Frodo and the hobbits. The hobbits are the focus. And it's just a different shift than what you're used to. It makes this story even better. And that's what grips my heart with Lord of the Rings. It's a story that you don't expect. It's a story that takes you on a journey that really you would have probably written differently if you wrote it. But Tolkien wrote it in a certain way to show us that, you know, even though Aragorn is this high king, there are other people in this story that make the story great. Like the hobbits, like Frodo, and even Gimli and Legolas. No, they're not just secondary characters, they're characters on their own. And the whole fellowship is, you know, it's not just you're focused on this one character and all these other characters come alongside and they're just kind of thrown away. No, every single character has a reason to be in the story. And they all have their own story within the story. It's like a great tapestry being weaved. And Tolkien did an excellent job. And so, I don't know about you. Have you read The Lord of the Rings? Have you only just seen the movies? You gotta read the books. You have to read the books. They're fantastic. And I'm looking forward to my next read of them to see what I'm going to learn. And I'm looking forward to when my son gets older and I can start reading these books to him. I started reading The Hobbit to him when he was probably like 6 months old. You know, he's not really going to get a whole lot out of that. But I'm waiting for the day where we can sit down at night and be like, Dad, can we read The Hobbit? I want to find out what happens next to Bilbo. And then when we finish The Hobbit, you know, we'll wait a couple years. But he's like, Dad, there's more? Can we read those together too? And I'm just really looking forward to sharing that with my son and enjoying that with him. And so if you're with me, if you love Lord of the Rings, leave a comment, subscribe. You can join the Discord where we can talk about it some more. But I just wanted to share with you the love of this story that I have. I look forward to sharing more stories with you in the coming weeks. Next week, we're going to actually be sharing an original story that I wrote, a short story. I'm just going to be reading it and kind of sharing that with you. So I hope you look forward to that as well. But until I see you again, Hane Akma Tov, which just means how pleasant it is for humanity to dwell in harmony with one another. Take care, and we'll see you later.